Hello, wise owls. It is February 26th, 2017. It has been quite a while since I've recorded, and we have been around the campfire, as we are now, late in the day on the 26th, on the Pisces new moon. The winds have changed, and it's time to discuss some things. I can't properly give an accurate overview of the Pisces lunar cycle without taking us back a bit, because the Sabian symbol for this lunar month, this Pisces new moon cycle, is 9 Pisces. The race begins. Intent on outdistancing his rivals, a jockey spurs his horse to great speed. But I can't tell the story beginning now because the story actually began over a year ago for us because we've been ahead of the curve or outdistancing our rivals being those that stand against free humanity and the free mind of humanity. In January 2016, over a year ago, when I foresaw this lunar cycle and I began talking about how the Pisces new moon lunar cycle began today, February 26, 2017, was the pivotal cycle for the year. Now, we understand that at each of the cardinal cycles of the year, the new moon cycles that begin in new moons in Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, we have big changes. That was the Capricorn cycle, the new moon on January 9th, 2016. It was conjunct Pluto also, in close conjunction. And so the new moon in Capricorn in 2016 began on January 9th, and on January 16th, a 36-hour experience, vision, witness, participation began for me, and it was rather dramatic. And so we began through the Oracle report living and preparing for this time and the year ahead, because the Pisces lunar cycle is always the preparation for the new solar lunar year. It's the last cycle before we begin again. It's the balsamic cycle. So if we paralleled the 8 lunar moon phases to 8 phases of a solar year, we are now in the balsamic time of the year. It's like a month-long balsamic phase, which are very dreamy. And this one actually is conjunct Neptune, which rules Pisces, so it's extra dreamy. But back to the race that began for us, for me, and that when I began talking about it in January 2016. So the Sabian symbol for that lunar cycle was a hidden choir singing during a religious service. So if you can think back to what was going on for you then, what was going on in your life, where you were emotionally and mentally, physically, understand that we've been in a process of preparation, as I said, to come to this point, because it's a pivotal point in the dispelling of the archontic problem from the equation of humanity, the experiment of humanity. And this began in 2015. I talked about this with that solar lunar year that began on April 18th, 2015. The music of the spheres was the Sabian symbol. And this was a reset. This was the marking point in time. It was the shift point. The Pisces cycle prior, the balsamic cycle prior to that new solar lunar year, was at 30 degrees of Pisces, the last degree of the zodiac. When we began the next cycle in Aries in April of 2015, a reset happened. That was the shift in consciousness, the marking point in time. The wisdom goddesses, the faces of Sophia, the aspects or emissaries of the Aeon Gaia Sophia, presented a scenario that would unfold. And here we are. So what I saw at that time was basically the clash of the Titans, what would happen during this current time, this Pisces cycle. And it was, I've tried to describe it many times, and it was almost like Revelations in the Bible, and it was a sonic harmonic blast that mowed down, disempowered archonic forces. It was a clash between light and dark, if you will, dualities, with light overtaking darkness, I should say, the wave of light spreading over across the darkness, just like as if a shadow went across. This was led by the emissaries Kali and for Sophia and Seth for Thelete, the primary aspects of Sophia and Thelete. The hidden choir singing during a religious service. That cycle served to unify voices. It was unseen assistance, and it was preparing us, as I said, to come to this point, this 5-year reset, basically, that the Mahavidyas told me about in 2015. We're coming to the middle of that now. They said that it would take about 5 years for the majority of the archontic energetic to be dispelled or dispatched back to source, back to Sophia. And that wouldn't mean that it would all be complete, but that 80%, so to speak, would be out of the equation. And I just couldn't conceive of that. I report it like I get it, but think back to April 2015. So long ago. It seems like now so much has happened. So much change, so much awakening, so much advancement, so much liberty. While at the same time, so much of the opposite. So the middle point of this we're coming to. So by 2020, we would have gone through the majority of what needed to happen for humanity to be free, to free the mind from the parasitic interference of the archons that's enacted cellularly inside of us. So I have followed that vision and how that's unfolded through all the new moons of the year of the Magic Carpet Ride, because that was the next new moon in Aries, so that the new solar lunar year was just 2 months after that Capricorn cycle. That the new moon in Aries was on April 7th, 2016. And the Sabian symbol was the magic carpet of Oriental imagery. We've been following that all year. We have some new subscribers and members at Oracle Report, so a lot of this will be new information, what I'm going to go through. So this report is extensive, as I mentioned it would be, because in order to, like I said, fully discuss it, we have to go back and we have to review what set up the Magic Carpet Ride and what was the Magic Carpet Ride now that we're coming to its conclusion. So, April 7th, 2016, where were you? What were you doing? What was happening in your life? Were you ready for the Magic Carpet Ride? Did things begin to destabilize? Because the Magic Carpet Ride has certainly had its ups and downs, hasn't it? The cycle that followed, the Taurus cycle, began on May 6th, and this was at 17 Taurus, the Sabian symbol of a symbolical battle between swords and torches. We had a beast of a coronal hole with that new moon. The lunar month was about the might of light, and we could certainly see division beginning at that time. It was a time of struggle that month, the month of May, followed by another month of struggle in June with the Gemini new moon on June 4th at 16 Gemini, a woman activist in an emotional speech dramatizing her cause. We had a Grand Cross in effect then, you may remember. It was about standing up, and this is what happened. People became very emotional, and they started standing up for things. And the Magic Carpet Ride was fully underway. for its first pivot following on the 4th of July with the Cancer new moon at the Sabian symbol of a very old man facing a vast dark space to the northeast. Do you remember the beginning of the summer? That was quite a cycle. That was about facing ourselves, facing the self, facing the void. It was a time of the beginning of narcissistic ego fragmentation, which has been opening up cracks for light to enter and for healing to occur. And it was a pivot point. It was a shift point. So the cardinal cycle, we always have big changes, big shifts. That's what it's a square, it's a 90-degree angle, and so that always moves things forward. And this was a first quarter lunar month, time of the year. It was like a month-long first quarter cycle, so it was about stepping out of the comfort zone and going in a different direction. We had two first quarter cycles. The Leo cycle, which began on August 2nd, 2016, was also a first quarter cycle. So we had two lunar months where we were stepping out of our comfort zone, pushing out and in new directions. So that's a lot of energy to exert, and to take things forward, things that were just beginning, that just began with the new year in Aries in April. To take those into another direction requires a lot of energy. Shifts at the cardinal signs are energetically draining because so much energy has to be utilized in order to make the changes. The Leo cycle occurred at 10 degrees Leo 57 minutes. And if you've been following my work for any length of time, you know that when we get into the 50th arc minute, I bump to the next Sabian symbol for that new moon, only at new moons, because basically the totality, or the essentially the bulk of the energetic has already been expended. So we know that energy moves in waves, comes in, builds, crests, and then ebbs down again. This is the way the Sabian symbols work. They discharge an energetic for a length of time, but when you get to the end of that time period, it's on the wane. And because a new moon is all about the flood of new energetics for beginnings, for new changes and new intentions, new hopes, wishes, and dreams. This is what we do at new moons. Because that was an energetic of conclusion that was completing, we bump to the next Sabian symbol. This is always the way I've done it. And what we've found, haven't we, if you've been following it with me, is basically both of the Sabian symbols are in effect. The one that's the exact, degree, and then when you bump up, bumping up, it's at 12 Leo, so it would have been at 11, bumped up to 12. An evening lawn party of adults was the Sabian symbol for that month, which was another emotional month with a lot of drama, like the woman activist with dramatizing her speech. Lots of drama. All of the planets were retrograde at that time of the new moon that month. And it was all about the narrative. The narratives that began in August. Ugly, many of them distasteful, but advancing us, right? On September 9th, we came to the Virgo cycle at 10 Virgo, the Sabian symbol, two heads looking out and beyond the shadows. September. Again, that energetic was about facing the self and facing the void. Well, what we saw was a degradation of the cabal, of the New World Order, of the Illuminati minions, of the archons, with a coup, basically, of the intelligence community, the military community, and the community of citizens on both sides of the political spectrum, taking part in two heads looking out and beyond the shadows. We recall that the global pedophile sex trafficking ring, the satanic pedophile ring leaked out a little bit, somewhat, and was discredited by um, sources that don't want that information coming out. Sophia and Thelate were managing the mass trauma response of the awakening, primary to which is the awakening to the understanding of what's happening to children and what in an organized fashion for not only monetary purposes but anti-human satanic purposes. So trauma, a trauma such as that, is is so shocking to the psyche, so devastating to the psyche, that the aeons are releasing, disseminating this knowledge for global awareness at, in spurts, we could say, a little at a time, to manage it because it is overwhelming. I am going to record separately. In fact, I'm going to drill down into a lot of these topics that I'm bringing up in depth. But I'd like to say right now that the reason that this is taking such time to come out, well, there are a lot of reasons. One of them is there's a lot of care being given to it. And this is in places where you wouldn't necessarily, you're not really thinking about. And I'm talking about within local police departments where this was uncovered. New York City in particular. And if you don't know my background, I was a rape crisis counselor and director of two nonprofits, and one of the co-founders of a anti-human trafficking task force that has been set to take the ring to bat, take it to the bar, take it to the stand. And I've been trying to talk about this. I have been talking about this issue for a long time, and it's a delicate one, and it's one that I can tell you from my experience working with law enforcement at not just local level, but at state and federal level. When those people have this evidence, they don't stop. They don't stop until the people involved are adjudicated. And this you can be sure, this issue is not going away. It is coming out but in divine design to not shock everyone into a shutdown. Archons would like that, but it's still too damaging for them to even do with shock and awe. So they're, any place that's mentioned it, they're trying to shut down and having some luck with that. So I'm going to talk more about that because I have a lot to say about it, and I hope my pal Anna, who worked with me in those efforts, will join us for a discussion so we can talk about the underside of this, the real story, and you can get it firsthand from us because we experienced it and the fight to bring this to light. There is a reason that it is so shocking, and it is the same reason that rape victims blame themselves after being raped. Because trafficking is rape, it's sexual assault. Sex trafficking is sexual assault. And why there's so much Stockholm syndrome that goes on with not just within rape, but within human trafficking, which would be organized sexual assault. The reality of knowing that there are human beings alive walking around that are capable of doing what they do to people is so shocking that the psyche will find reasons to blame anything but usually oneself. In other words, a rape victim will find all of the reasons why he or she shouldn't have been done, worn, acted, said, whatever they did to think that they deserved to be sexually assaulted, because they can control that. They can control their own thoughts about that. We cannot control monsters outside of us. And so it becomes the interior battle, the inner battle. and Stockholm Syndrome sets in. And this is how we see the mass victimization of those who are so in their hearts dedicated to equality and freedom and against power and control systems cannot see the reality and the evidence that's going to come forward. Okay, so that was a very long digression. I said I was going to not drill down that far, but there's some things I want to just talk about now, just to provide a bridge, because things are going to be happening very, very quickly. And so I'm going to try to record very, very quickly and outdistance our rivals. But there will be things that'll come up that I'd like to try and address before, or really it's a, what I do is triage it before it happens. That's really what Oracle Report is about. So this is coming and it's coming quickly. Okay, and this, it really is the race that is the end of the rabbit hole, is the trafficking, the pedophile, satanic ring of pedophiles and archons that are behind them. Okay, back to no, now let's go back to the Libra cycle. It began on September 30th, so basically the month of October. So we're again at another cardinal point. The Sabian symbol was three old masters hanging in a special room in an art gallery. Again, this was about taking a stand. There was division happening. Holding the line is what we were engaged in, and displays of liberty happening everywhere. That was a full lunar month, equivalent to a full moon, a month-long full moon. We had two of them, two in a row. So we had full light shining. This is one of the reasons things got so, so crazy. On October 30th, the Scorpio cycle began, so the month of November was disseminating the Sabian symbol of the moon shining across a lake. Again, full moon, we could say, was giving us full light to see things. To see, what are we seeing? What did we see on the magic carpet ride? Look at everything that happened. To apply it to yourself, go back to November. Think back to what was happening for you then, the beginning of the holiday season. Where did you find yourself? What was happening? What was the universe trying to help you see, come out of denial about, come to reality with? The Sagittarius cycle began on November 29th at 8 Sagittarius. That Sabian symbol was deep within the depths of the earth, new elements are being formed. And it was all about destiny. The nodes were involved with that month. It was a disseminating lunar month, so all month long was about information, about disseminating information to us, sharing and communicating with each other, and spirit sharing and communicating with us. Elements of things were found. Things were formed. Things began. New directions that were shown to us earlier in the year, we take the path on when the Sagittarius cycle, the seeker, the cycle of the seeker and the quest comes upon us. What did you find? There was something there within the source field that was trying to find its way to you. Was it something about your health? What was it? Was it elemental? What was it? It was probably something that was part of a plan that was enacted millions, hundreds of millions of years ago. Sagittarius energy is intimately related to the truth and meaning. And that cycle during December, the Sagittarius cycle, that was when the whole fake news kind of notion came about, during the cycle of Sagittarius, of truth. The Capricorn cycle began on December 29th, and that was at 9 Capricorn, an angel carrying a harp. Wow, so much happened. Uranus stationed direct at the Eris point on the 27th of December, just a couple of days before. It's all been about rectification ever since, and grassroots movements, again, on both sides of the geopolitical spectrum. The grassroots movement, a harmonization trying to occur to unite divided sides. Okay, so while things did appear and still do appear dualized and in dissonance, the energetics are happening at higher levels to unify, to unify and free, to win. It's not divide and conquer, it's unify and free. So rectification, revolution, all of those energetics of the Eris energy, with Uranus stationing direct at the Eris point. It's about shaking off our denial. So much of this year of the Magic Carpet Ride is about us coming out of our denial and our illusions about ourselves and about what we are truly capable of and how high we could soar, and that we will soar. Soaring, we come to the Aquarius cycle that began on January 27th. A flag is seen turning into an eagle, the Sabian symbol. Liberty rising. And attacks on liberty, especially with the Mars-Pluto action, one of the subjects we will look at a little bit more. Saturn began its conjunction with the galactic center. During that cycle, you recall at the Oracle report we were talking about this, and how that was in effect and how it was divine intervention as Saturn disseminated the energetic of 27 degrees of Sagittarius, the degree of the galactic center, the pleroma to the ancient Gnostics. That Sabian symbol is a sculptor's vision is taking form, which I love because it's the perfect description of the galactic center, isn't it? Because they are creators, they're sculptors of life, and they have a vision and they seed it out and it takes form. And so within us, that's happening. We're in a divine conjunction, alignment. The structure of our lives is being put into a divine alignment. Work and health are highlighted with Saturn. And it's a pretty special energetic, one of the most special you can have of all 360. So, Liberty rising, the completion for all intents and purposes of this solar lunar year came at the end of that Aquarius cycle, just before the new moon today. Third quarter, it's been third quarter phase all month long. We had two of them this year. The Capricorn and the Aquarius cycle were both third quarter cycles, lunar months that were like month-long third quarter cycles. It's about revising, realigning, taking responsibility, completing, and releasing what you don't want to carry forward into the new solar lunar year. We have 1 month to do that, to release. We're in the Pisces cycle now, the balsamic time of the year that is like the month that is like a month-long balsamic phase. The dreamy time, the mystical time. We go into the mystic. It's Pisces, it's watery, it's emotional, it's deep, it's vulnerable. It is not very comfortable in the harshness of the world. And so the race begins. The Sabian symbol, the race begins. Intent on outdistancing his rivals, a jockey spurs his horse to great speed. Well, we still have Saturn conjunct the galactic center. Today, with the new moon, we have Mars conjunct Uranus, opposing Jupiter, no less, bringing about rapid changes and expansion of our lives and our gnosis, the light. But it is a battle. It is a race, you could say. And it is a pivotal month because what is basically molded into this lunar month within the collective consciousness is what is the field upon which the new is seeded. Seeds are planted into that field. So we're plowing up the field now. We're ridding ourselves of what we don't want to carry with us: negativity, archonic interference, negative self talk, self criticism, self blame, guilt, shame, denial, all of it. We can leave it behind. This is what the true value of following the cycles of the sun, the earth, and the moon do for us. They put us into a proper alignment of time, of when it is easier or more natural to do anything, to take action or to not take action. Each one, it's a give and take. It's a back and forth with each one, with each phase. We're active, and then the next one we're passive. So we have Venus going retrograde this cycle, which is a really big deal. And that happens on March 4th. It occurs at 14 Aries, a serpent coiling near a man and a woman. Venus retrograde is about values, relationships, and money, and things related, comfort. But primarily when Venus retrogrades, it's about values reassessment. We find out what is truly valuable to us in here and now. And it's not the same as what it was, because each time Venus retrogrades, it refines that. And so the older we get, the more Venus retrogrades we've experienced, and the more refined we become, and the more pure our value system becomes with a higher intent. So let's look into, now that we've taken the magic carpet ride and a little bit before that, to where we are now at this clash of the titans, this cycle that I saw over a year ago and have been living ever since. We've already done this. As I said, we've been ahead of the curve with this because we've known what was happening with each of the Sabian symbols. It's it's clockwork. It's binary code is what it is. So let's look at the binary code, so to speak, of the astrology. Again, we have Neptune in conjunction, close conjunction with the new moon, and Neptune is discharging. Oh goodness, where are you, Neptune? Yes, an examination of initiates in the sanctuary of an occult brotherhood. That's very interesting, isn't it? When we see um, pop paganism showing out um, under the directive of Soros and company. So the activation of spiritually minded people for destructive purposes. Okay, so that's the archontic inversion of the energetic with the new moon. So the higher octave of this is the race begins and the test begins, the examination of the initiates, of the jockeys, of the warriors, in the sanctuary, with invisible assistance, unseen assistance, as always. This Sabian symbol, the race begins, is one where the cycle this month, we don't want to push ourselves too hard. Okay, so the symbol tells us that the jockey is intent on outdistancing his rivals, and so he spurs his horse to great speed. So we've been clipping at a regular pace all year long with the magic carpet ride, faster than most, certainly. And the tendency or the need even is to expend more energy this cycle. But you want to be careful. Don't burn it out fast, because that happens when Mars, Uranus, and Jupiter come together like they are today. And remember, the energetics that are in effect, that are the energetics, the degrees of the zodiac that the planets are discharging at the time of the new moon, strike and then reverberate all month long. The same is true for each one of these months of the year. So we started with the magic carpet ride of Oriental imagery, and we understand that harmonic was struck, and ripples for the whole year. And then when the Taurus cycle, the second cycle, comes up after Aries, that symbolical battle between swords and torches for this year, that one strikes, and then that one continues playing. So we have two playing, right? We have Aries and Taurus playing. Well, this happens as we progress throughout the year. So now when we come to Pisces and we hit the Pisces new moon, everyone is playing. All the instruments are being heard. Okay, they're all still in effect. All of those Sabian symbols that we just went through are still happening. They ripple. It's all one span of time, isn't it? All of the Sabian symbols are always active at all times. When we pinpoint in a timeline at a given space-time, time-space, we see which ones are activated, and then we can correlate, can't we? We get our spiritual latitude and longitude. But so we understand that all these harmonics are still in play. The magic carpet ride's coming, it's shrieking in, screaming in here at the end. And we want to have a steady pace. It is not a good idea to tax your heart under this energetic. So pace yourself. So we have several things happening here. We have Mars in square to Pluto with this new moon. It's a first quarter square. You recall that I began when Mars and Pluto met up. Oh gosh, I think it was November 9th. We were tracking what was going on then. We made note. Wise Al Sharon and I plan to record everything that's been happening at the Mars-Pluto cycle changes. When they just change phase, something happens with the internet. That's what the archons have imprinted to operate with Mars and Pluto in the last several cycles, is the whole net neutrality, the shutdown of the internet notion. If you remember, I talked quite a bit about that. We'll go back to that in a separate recording. That's in effect right now. We have Chiron and square to Saturn, bringing restructuring in massive ways, especially for Pluto in Virgo generation, people born in the 60s pretty much. Restructuring, and this is also takes hits at the skeletal level and with your feet. And let me just add here real quickly, not to plug because I certainly don't receive any compensation, but one of my favorite things is the rumble roller for your feet. It is such great reflexology that you can do for yourself. No comparison to an actual practitioner, but Pisces rules the feet, and when with Neptune in conjunction with this new moon, our feet might hurt more than normal. And if you're at Pisces, you know all about that. That rumble roller for your feet that has the two balls that you just roll your feet across is fantastic because it hits all those reflexology points. I usually am rolling on it when I'm writing the report. It's amazingly energizing, and I keep meaning to mention this, and I keep forgetting, so there that is. That's rumbleroller.com. They're awesome there. So we have to take care of our feet. The Earth at the new moon is discharging the Sabian symbol of an expressionist painter making a futuristic drawing. This is a powerful clearing of the field. Remember, that's what we're doing this balsamic cycle. We're releasing the past and what we don't want to carry forward. We're creating a field of dreams with dream brothers and sisters. This is the time when you would want to make your vision board or your wish board. You want to get the things together. You can do it during this cycle or during the new moon and Aries cycle, the next cycle, when you set the intention. But you can get everything together and be thinking about, if you were making a vision board, a wish board, You can even do this. You can divide it up into, if it's a circle, you can divide it up into 8 parts or 8 squares, whatever, one for each of the 8 moon phases. And as we go each month, as we go through each of those phases of the cycle, the months that are the new moon phases, I don't have those with me. Can't remember if there's 2 new moon cycles or one. At any rate, whatever you would want, you can parallel it with the moon cycles. So new moon, we set intentions, and then when we get to the crescent time of year, that's when we know we struggle, and so we'd want to hold our vision. So if we have a vision board there with what our intentions are, we can keep sight of that. And then at first quarter, representing something that would take that vision or wish or hope or dream and step out with it, finding graphical representations, making your own, drawing a picture, painting a picture of what it is you want to, where you want to go, what you want to experience, which streams of consciousness you want to experience for the new year. The Sabian symbol for the new year, for the new solar lunar year, is a woman's hat is blown by streamers in the east wind. It's not that exactly, but that's the gist of it. Um, Streams of consciousness, things are blowing in, things that we're going to catch. So we want to expand out for that now, right? We want to take the lead, take the race, get ahead of it, and project. Because that's what the expressionist painter is doing, isn't it? With the futuristic drawing, it's projecting. It's certainly individualistic and in one's own perception and seeing ahead of time. There are several energetics with the Pisces new moon that discuss unloading or relief of burdens. Could be relief of a barrier, I suppose, as well. We have Uranus at the time of the conjunction with Mars at a woman in pastel colors carrying a heavy and valuable but veiled load. And so that energetic is designed to lighten loads. Now, at the exact time of the new moon, which was 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Uranus was still located at the garden to the gate of all fulfilled desires. And so that energetic is in play all month long still, because Uranus was at 21:59, and then a couple hours later it moved to 23 degrees and to the woman in pastel colors. And so we still have that gate to the garden right there, ready for us to ask, to step forward, to assert ourselves with what we want, our will and desire. But we also have perhaps an unburdening, an unloading of something, maybe something that we've kept close to the chest, as it were. So we will see unloading and revelation this month. It's echoed with the degree of Pluto, a child of about 5 carrying a huge shopping bag filled with groceries. So it's about being having too many responsibilities, overburdened, far out of balance. Child of about 5 carrying a huge bag of groceries. Of course, groceries are what we nourish with. So there are many, many things we could take from that. But how is that affecting you personally? Is there a burden, a load that you've been carrying? This is the time to release it. The black moon at the time of the new moon was located at the ocean covered with white caps. I've talked a lot about the Sabian symbol. It's 2 degrees of Sagittarius. It's about diving under when things become chaotic. Again, in effect, all month long, even though all of these planets will move to different degrees. At the new moon, this is where they were. Deception, secrets, things come to light, things are revealed. This energetic will go to great lengths to conceal, out of a fear of truth being found out, because usually there's such a distortion of the truth and one's perception of one's truth that has become quite a burden. Venus is in the shadow of its retrograde. I don't really talk a lot about shadows of retrogrades, but I do with Venus because Venus retrogrades are just so massive. I don't think that any of the other planets retrograde are as powerful. So I've been studying astrology over a decade, and when you see it in a chart, someone's natal chart, it's such so impactful. And when it happens, and again, as I mentioned was when we started, it's about values reassessment. So Venus is in shadow, and it is located at a bomb which failed to explode is safely concealed. So certain bombs have been shadowed for now. Venus will retrograde on the 4th, and it will station direct on April 15th. And then we'll carry through onto the shadow on the other side. I think we come out of shadow on May 4th, but I'll double check that, and that'll be in the report. During that Venus retrograde and during this cycle, this lunar month, we may come to find that we are trying to find a reason to carry on because something has made us very sad. And this is why staying ahead of the curve and knowing what these energetics are is helpful, because we don't personalize it, or we don't personalize it as much. And so when we know that there's a bomb out there that, that it's going to fail to explode, it's going to be safely concealed, but that generates a lot of fear and anxiety and tension and pressure anyway, and energy to keep things concealed. So, you know, and given the ocean covered with whitecaps and that deceptive potential there, things are going to come out. It's just on the way. Frustration can come with this. Um, we can take hold of things before they get out of hand. If you notice that something is getting out of hand and going off the rails, we can get back on the horse, right? We're the jockeys. And this month, of all months, we have to hold the line, okay? Because this is the preparation for the year ahead of us. This is the year. 2017 is the year. This is the big one. Within that 5 years, that 2015 to 2020, this is the year where we're going to have the most change. This is the year when the archons will suffer the most degradation. Again, Saturn was located at the sculptor's vision, is taking form, conjunct the galactic center, all of that highest level spiritual energetic infusing. This lunar month is going to link to the Sagittarius lunar month, which is December 18th, 2017. Everything that happens starting today, February 26th, will be loading in, will be happening, will be unfolding and occurring through that Sagittarius new moon cycle, so through December. Chiron's located at an inhabited island at the new moon. With Chiron there, we can feel more cut off or alone. And we also have the south node at the Sabian symbol of heavy car traffic on a narrow isthmus linking two seaside resorts. Okay, so Saturn is the home of the archons, and Chiron right now, being located at 24 Pisces at an inhabited island, is in square to Saturn. So the archons are feeling more cut off, alone, and isolated, and dualities and divide and conquer. So with the south node at the heavy traffic on the two sides linking the two seaside resorts, we have the north node at black and white children playing happily together. And so we have this illusion of separation and these race wars that they're trying to start to lead us toward with the north node, which leads us into the future. That's what it rules. This energetic is about universal brotherhood, fellowship, and so beautifully today, a friend of mine was at a birthday party for a 6-year-old, an art party, and sent me a photo. It was of a black and a white, two little girls, a black girl and a white girl, at their art party, at the birthday party. What a reminder. What a beautiful reminder. I love it when the mind of Sophia sends messages like that. This is what we have to counter all of this divide and conquer. The archons are saying, look, humans, this is what you get when you mess with us, to quote Radiohead, Karma Police. No, this is what you get when you go against God. The alignment of humanity is happening. The rise of liberty is happening. They are trying to play us off against each other, and we understand the game. We don't engage. We don't fight. We don't enter into it. We don't divide and conquer. Because this was shown this month, and what I saw in January of 2016, light overcame darkness. Everything that the Mahavidyas have shown me has come to pass. Everything that I discussed that they showed me in July, that I discussed in an earlier video, happened. It was traumatic for me to experience, but it happened to prove to me what they said. All roads lead to liberty. So I find it very interesting that over the last 8 years of Democratic president in the United States, so many Americans came to liberty, came to awareness of darker forces of the deep state through someone who was envisioned as Hitler or the Antichrist. And now we have a Republican president, and those who feel like he is the Antichrist or Hitler are coming to liberty as well. And so in this way, all roads lead to liberty, don't they? I suspect time will tell if there was more truth to either side of the perception. Doesn't matter, because we are all united. This is humanity standing together, understanding that there is a force trying to divide us so that we don't understand that they are true rivals. They aren't really our rivals, because we aren't in any type of fight or rivalry with the archons. It is the unfight, as I was writing about last week in the Oracle report. It is the rising above. This year, the stellar dynamics, the stars, the music of the spheres, the codes of life encoded within the 360 degrees of the zodiac, and many other things, have sought to teach us to rise above and to see that we are not each other's enemy, that we have a third party that's unseen that has tried to trick us. We aren't going to engage in this. We're going to be ahead of the curve and take the field. I like to close with something that the Mahavidyas told me on June 28th, 2016. I'm known for dating everything. I'm kind of glad that happened a long time ago. This is what they told me, and I hope you find it helpful. And I thank you for listening, and I thank you for supporting me and our work. Keep a tender heart. Be wise. Be careful. Be just. Be fearless. Free yourself. Take the field of higher consciousness. I'll see you next time.